Explore Duke's journey of authenticity and connections, embracing life with endless curiosity.
Otherwise, and maybe better known as Dukes, the man that is the most connected person in Fort Lauderdale, or at least from my experience. So, as you saw, I know I sent you over some stuff, some talking points, a lot to go over. Typically with this, kind of, call it a pseudopod, right? It's kind of a condensed version. And we'll kind of go all over the place. We'll bounce from left field to right field, back to home plate, and then back out to center field, right? So we want to, touch on a lot of different things.
Not
right?
much of a baseball player, so.
I'm not either. Thankfully. I'm not either. So the first question, and part of the introduction. So for a man who wears many, many hats, how would you describe what it is that you do? Who is Dukes?
Oh man, you came with the heavy question first. It's like that's like a deep question, right?
Yep.
It's like who's Dukes? Well, I'm Dukes. Hi, I'm Dukes. Nice to meet you. My name's Michael Cunniff, better known as, And I guess the question is who's Dukes? So like who's Dukes at the core? I'm a guy that you say I guess wears many hats. Is that right? So like on any given day, I could be like creating, it could be problem solving, could be just living in the moment. Whatever the moment calls for, whatever the hat calls for, that's what I'm doing that day. I don't want to be known as someone who's like one-dimensional, so I think it's important to always be out there, always learning, being creative, curious, and I think at the end of the day, I don't know if I necessarily know like what that is or what Dukes is, because I'm just me, and I think a lot of people every day are like constantly creating and trying to find themselves, and I don't think I'm any different,
For sure. So where does that mentality come from? I look at people like, for example, The Rock or Shaquille O'Neal, someone who's able to, build their foundation or build themselves in one lane, but then get to a point where they just diversify. I mean, look at Shaquille O'Neal. He's an EDM, DJ now.
Well, I appreciate that. I think there's a lot of it was a lot of comparisons there. That who do we name? We name Shaq. We name a couple. The Rock.
Just,
I appreciate
people
that.
who do a lot of different things. Right?
Yeah,
it's cool.
it's important to diversify. I don't know where where to say the journey started, but I've always been passionate about what do they say, like fashion, art, music, entertainment. That's like an acronym, FAME. Early on in my career, I was in print media. And they say that's like the dinosaur of media. But we were creating ads at that time. We were creating really awesome stuff in the local marketplace. So going all the way back to being an athlete, being a person who was, I'm always curious about life. I see a video that goes around, be curious, not judgmental. I think that's extremely important in life, to always be questioning. Life, not questioning things. Don't question things. Question life. And push to be a curious person. So I think that's where it all started back at with athletics. And bringing it to where it is today is just always a drive and a passion and a yearning to learn more about people, to meet more people, understand how people enjoy their lives. What's important to them. I am a person that talks a lot, but I think it's important to listen to others. So I think that's when you take all of those life experiences and the things that I've done and where I've been, it's always incredible to try to connect the dots. Oftentimes when I see people out in the marketplace, we've been connected for so long or do so many different things that we can oftentimes forget or blur the lines on how we initially met. Even sitting here at this awesome table in this incredible office, Paul Ringon, that's a fraternity brother of mine.
Yeah,
At one point, he was a young man going into college, and he was compared to my big brother. So what an incredible thing that, you go full circle, and now he's this awesome driving force in the marketplace where he's creating community, he's connecting people, and that's an important thing. And then it connects and goes full circle with other people that are in my life now, and that's just a wonderful thing. So I don't know if you can necessarily bottle it or pinpoint it, but it's a journey and an experience that I continue to enjoy every single day.
Nice. Like you just said, all these experiences and these people you've met along the way, whether it was starting in marketing, print media, college, athletics, and then, a decade or two later, here you are in Fort Lauderdale. One thing that I've noticed and seen since we've met is everyone. You cannot talk to somebody in this city who doesn't know you or doesn't at least have heard your name before. So I guess that kind of leads me into my next question is, Can you just talk a little bit about how you've become so connected, as well as why that's important to you?
Well, I can appreciate the question, and I can appreciate the statement. I have to acknowledge the statement first and say I do appreciate that. But the question, I never really set out to be well connected. That was never a goal of mine. I appreciate people for who they are. I'm always interested to learn more about people. So it's important to listen when you first meet people.
Right.
And like I say, I think a lot of my friends would kind of laugh at that, to say, I'm a guy that talks a lot. I think when I get to know people, right, you connect the dots with people, and you find out things that are important to them, and you're able to lean into those things and genuinely care. I think it's extremely important to, whatever you do in life, just to show up and be like authentic. You know what I'm saying? Like, just be you in any given situation. I know that's like a scary thing for a lot of people, but just like Nike, just do it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Be like Mike. I've got the Jordan shoes on. We can't pan down to them, but I promise you I do. And the OG ones. And I wear them because of Ted Lasso. I don't know if Ted Lasso, mm-hmm. Guy's an infectious guy. And I'd say if you watch the TV show, you'd say, wow, that guy, just as he grows, more people kind of come into his fold and come around him. And I like to think that I'm that type of person. I hope I'm that type of person.
For sure.
And I think it depends on who you ask, right? So if I create like we want to be TikTok edgy, there's an old saying, and I don't know if we're like on the PG side or the spectrum side, but some people will tell you I'm an asshole, and some people will tell you I'm the coolest guy they ever met. Believe both of them, because I treat people accordingly.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So I don't know if that's necessarily the type of voice I want to carry, mm-hmm. but when push comes to shove, I treat people for who they are.
Totally. Totally, and as you should. And I'm the same way. I feel like you give what you get, give and take, right? So it's important to reciprocate and match people's energy. But I do want to, before getting to this next question, you said something that's really cool, is you talked about authenticity. Mm-hmm. And, I've seen your office space, or your old one rather, your old living situation where you had your office, and even the way that you dress, and I know we talked about fashion a little bit, mm-hmm. every detail, from everything you wear to everything in your studio to an art piece on the wall to a little decor over here, you have a story for it, and you're very intentional with all that stuff. So I think that in that kind of connects, or that is what makes you authentic. So can you talk about this? Is kind of like a side question. So I think it's actually hard to be authentic online through social media. With you, what I see you post and talk about, it's you. I've seen you in person. We've hung out off camera, offline a bunch of times. We've had so many conversations. Why is it hard to be authentic online, especially when you're creating content?
I appreciate that. So you're full of compliments in your questions, which I appreciate that. You've done your research. Most people don't see that side of my life. So I do appreciate you sharing that, because there is a lot of creativity that you don't see. And I think when people see the front side of what I do for a living, it's hard to connect the dots to the back side of what I do in my life and lifestyle. I love to be a creative person, but I can also be a problem solver and a serious person.
For sure.
I can be a business owner, but I can also be a curious creative who's filming or doing videography that day and learning about someone's industry. I think it's extremely important that whenever you come to the table, that you're prepared to just learn. So that's I appreciate you sharing that side of it. And everything is intentional. That's a huge word. Intentional. Yeah. That's a huge word. And intentional and authenticity, I think those two words can be fairly connected as we move into 2025. Personalized brands, right? We talk about that. I'm kind of adding sauce that, it's bigger stuff to business owners and to salespeople and people who make a living online. Everyone's making a living online.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing this. We all have our cell phones in our hands. We should all be authentically connecting with our communities. So to digress back, I don't know if it's necessarily something that is like natural or easy, or something that I find to be easy. It's something that I just do. And I think that's the most important part, is to stay consistent and to just do. Tomorrow's gonna come, today's gonna happen, tomorrow's gonna come. Do your best, and just try to get 1% better. You know, if you can get 1% better, that adds up to a whole lot of percents. So do your best. Tomorrow will happen. Push it out there. You know, lean into things. Have fun.
For sure.
That's it. I said a bunch of cliche stuff, but hopefully you can connect the dots into how important that is.
Yeah, I mean, it's great stuff. And I think one thing I want to touch on that you said is, you know, some people know you in one way or they perceive you one way, but they don't know maybe why or how they do because of a lot of the back end stuff. And specifically, when we first met in person, I know we've exchanged messages, but when we first met in person and we grabbed coffee, this is however long ago, I remember leaving our conversation and Nicole, who was just here, she just left. She was like, "Oh, how was it? Like, you know, like what does he do? What'd you talk about?" And I said, I don't even know. Like you do so much.
I don't even know what this
that sometimes I'm like, I don't even really know how to put him in a box because you can't, which I think is awesome. But one thing I actually want to talk a little bit about is something that inspires me is the super agency. Something that you've spent so much time building and curating, and you've been recognized by the city of Fort Lauderdale on multiple occasions. So can you kind of walk us through the inception of it and then maybe fill us into where it's at today?
Oh gosh. Well, again, you're like full of compliments, so I appreciate that. And the coffee's working, so I hope I don't get too deep into any stories or anything like that.
You want to get deep.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that's one of the things. Consistency is important, but discretion is important too. You know, so I don't want to be a person that voices that out into the streets, or I'm the person that's carrying that message. But if it's out there, I appreciate it. And to connect the dots on a lot of this stuff, I got to bring it back to the beginning. Super Agency, it started as Monster Mind Marketing, Monster Mind Group. We were on Galt Ocean Mile. It was a brick and mortar. We were doing websites, graphics, logos. I mean, social media was something you'd add for free when building and developing websites. That's what people don't know. These are real glasses. I am a bit of a nerd. I do understand HTML and CSS, and I do develop websites. So that's a shocker to a lot of people how incredibly deep into the internet that I can actually be, how much I love digital. In terms of development, platform development. So that is a passion of mine. So I think when people learn that, it's like it's a bigger type of thing. It didn't start really with a camera in my hand. It was developing a website and being like, man, we could put a cool video on here. You know, we could put an interview on here. We could start to add custom photography. Like we need a banner, you know, or a slider, which was hot back in that day of the static or dynamic websites. But anyway, I had shifted from Monster Mind Group over to what is now the Super Agency, luxury brand development and retail group. And that had started with Jonathan Frank and the Auto Toy Store. The Auto Toy Store at one point was the largest exotic dealer in the United States.
Show him this bad boy real quick.
Yeah, I was.
Show him this bad boy.
I was a young man back at that time. This will be story time, so you'll probably edit this down. But I was a young man back at that time, and I had met Jonathan Frank, and he was the vice president of the Auto Toy Store. And it was called Anthony Holdings Group. So they were the Aqua, the Auto, the Aero. And I mean, to this day, a lot of these businesses still exist.
Right.
But Jonathan Frank was the vice president. He's around my age now, and he's now the owner of this brand overall. He's very well known. It's a world famous brand. It was the largest exotic dealers in the United States at one point. And I was just fortunate to be his friend. I had met him when I first come out of college. I was able to just become fast friends with Jonathan. At this point, I consider him like a brother, you know. And when people connect that, they really see a bigger story, and they understand how much I care about people and their brands. And I mean, this if you want to talk personal brands, this encompasses Jonathan Frank, the Auto Toy Store. So. I was trusted with his brand early on. It's called the New Auto Toy Store back in like the 1990s, so it's been new for a very long time.
It's been around that long.
Yeah, very long time.
Cow.
So again, it was the largest exotic dealer in the United States at one point. Had over 300 supercars on their lot. It was on Sunrise Boulevard, so there's footage out there that people can find. You can comment. Like this is like great TikTok fodder. Is like find videos from back at that time, like Mischief TV. I think you can find them. You'll see the Auto Toy Store like in its heyday.
Nice.
But it's still there. We're off of I-95. We have a 2-story dealership, and it's going to be turning into 4 stories total here pretty soon. But let's get it back to the super agency.
Yep.
So it was really a connection between this. So Jonathan Frank in the Auto Toy Store is one of the first clients to come into the fold. This was created by a guy named Don J. He's in New York City, in Manhattan, and a guy named Adi. So again, this is what might have confused you. So you'll have to watch the video and follow through on this. But a guy named Adi had introduced me. Adi had introduced me to the brand, and he's just a fantastic guy who's in real estate to this day. He's with a very prestigious brokerage in North Miami Beach, does like I'm talking like $15-20 million properties. But he had introduced me to this brand. This is the Black Bottle Boys Luc Belair out of France, and then the artist had created this on the bottle, and we had been invited by Sovereign Brands, which is the name of the company, and it started to grow from there. So I was fortunate to work with brands like Lionheart Capital, which is like the Queen's brand. I don't know if you know that. It's like Ritz-Carlton and all of that. Then it moved on to a really interesting brand called Zealander Yachts, and that's how it kind of segues into the yacht brands and yacht industry. Zealander Yachts also owned a brand called Van Dutch. Van Dutch was coming to the United States at that time. They had 3 yachts in the United States, and I became their first marketing director for North America. So I built VanDutch.com. The Zealander brand was very correlative to Rolls-Royce motor cars, and the Van Dutch brand is very correlative to Porsche. So that's why I love Porsche. Like to this day, I have a Porsche. Porsche is a very interesting brand. It's the original supercar. They carry the Stuttgart horse the same way Ferrari does. If you ever notice Porsche and Ferrari have the same horse in their logos. So check that out.
Attention to detail right there,
world.
see?
Yeah, so that's from a Prince a long time ago. But anyway, we'll get back. So Van Dutch Yachts, so we became quickly the bad boys of boating, is what we were called. And we were doing all kinds of fun stuff on Las Olas, and really building a name for the brand here in the United States. It was a lot of fun. And out of that, it was Anko. And I don't do impressions other than this is Anko, and I love Anko.
But one day Anko says to me, he says, Michael, you're doing brands. He goes, first the brand Boom, then the brand Wow. Boom, Wow.
And I say, Boom, Wow. I'm like, that's cool. Like, what's that? I mean, this guy introduced me to Apple. This guy introduced me to like everything. I mean, he took my phone one time we're on the Miami River at Yunuxi, Eloy's place, Sea Spice. And he takes my phone and he throws it in the ice bucket. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? And he takes my hat off. I was wearing a Miami Heat Champions hat, and he throws it on the roof. And the guys are helping me out, and they get the hat and they bring it back. My phone's in the ice bucket. I don't think phones were waterproof then.
Yeah, probably
and I'm
not.
just like, what the heck,
And he's like, man, I don't like the phones you have. Apple phone, get Apple phone Monday.
So I get Apple phone, I get Apple computer, we get Apple everything, and that's when I was really like introduced to it at that time. Before that, really, the nerd world was like more like PC, more Android, more built out. The way you could technically use these programs,
Right.
But wow, Apple really took over. And at this time, this was learning. So that segues into video and understanding like Photoshop and all these different things, which at that point had become Final Cut for Mac and all the different Apple products that I had learned because of that experience had segued kind of to where it is today. But so we had Monster Mind marketing. We'd already been doing the development, but now I had been segued into this Van Dutch, and Anko was all about boom and wow. And I say, okay, so boom and wow, what does that mean? And he says, when you introduce something, you introduce a brand, and I say, Connor, this is my bottle. And I say, boom. What do you say?
Wow.
Wow, that's it. And if you say, I'm not really interested in the colors, I don't really know the style, why did you make it this way? He says, put it in the trash.
Bring it back.
He doesn't say a word. He goes,
You take the idea in the trash.
So what happens is creatives tend to build on top of that. So what people do is they go back to the drawing board and they say, oh, how can I make this better? How can I make this better? And what he says is, you just scrap it completely. And you get back to the beginning and you create something that at the end of the day, when you present it, it's boom.
First impression.
And the consumer says, wow. And that just really hit with me. And I know people are going to comment on this. People are going to see this or remember boom, wow. It'll be people from all over, the world, United States. It's a lot of fun. But that's been something that's been part of my story and journey for a long time. So boom, wow, super cool, fun, simple. Simplicity. Let's keep it simple. Something I've always incorporated into my art that I had shared with you is yes. the yen, euro, dollar, YES. Yes,
yeah.
simple. And I want to connect with people on a bigger level. And as much as I talk, when you do go on an international level, it's feelings, it's vibes, it's getting to know people, as humans, and who they are. So that was super, is to make people super, and that's really what I wanted to do. And that's what we set out to do, and that's what we did, and it's been a lot of fun. I'll tell some quick stories, not like the stories weren't long enough there, but I'll tell a few secret stories, so you can fact check these. So ultimately, Van Dutch Yachts was purchased by a friend of mine, Brett David. Brett David owns Prestige Miami, Lamborghini, North America. He's one of the largest dealers in North America. But we met at UCF. So Brett David and I met at University of Central Florida.
Shout out the Knights.
Yeah, I didn't meet him through the supercars and all that stuff. People think it was through that, because he's a person who, he's a real life like Bruce Wayne. It's pretty incredible, the people that are like around his fold in his life. He's also an incredibly humble person. So shout out to him, but he ultimately ended up purchasing the brand. So here's a fun story. The Joker movie, the purple Lamborghini, right? Rick Ross. Lamborghini did not release Lamborghini for that movie. So there is no Lamborghini in the movie. And in the music video, they also couldn't do that. You can't release it without Lamborghini's consent. So we scrambled and we took a Van Dutch and we painted it purple Pantone. And it's a beautiful purple Van Dutch. And if you watch the music video, Purple Lamborghini, you'll see Jared Leto on the front, fully decked out as a Joker, Rick Ross. And it was an incredible and sunny Skrillex. It was on the boat too. What? So yeah, it's wild. So check out the video. So you fact check me on that. So Purple Lamborghini does not have a Lamborghini in it, and it does feature in the music video a Van Dutch yacht. And then another fast story, because this guy's an inspirational person. Everybody loves this guy. Is Dave Grutman, like the king of Miami. He's heavily his brand is built into that Van Dutch brand. And like DJ Khaled, like we all love that. So we the best. Let's go golfing. I'm wearing the golf shoes. Let's go. So Dave Grutman was an owner of the brand early on. So like he was like a customer, a client. Yeah, he owned the brand. Like, so he invested in it, which is really cool, and it had been shared with me by Anko. It says, who is Dave Grutman, man? Who's this guy? I say, he is awesome. This guy, I'm like all gushing about Dave Grutman. I think he's the coolest guy in the world. And I say, this guy's in all the coolest places, and he does all the greatest things, and he's a nightclub owner.
Wait, so what time frame was this really quick again?
Oh wow, this is back, and got to be like 2009, 10. The Guardians of the Galaxy are coming out. I think it's Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Vin Diesel is playing Groot. Right? So Vin Diesel's playing Groot. So Dave Grutman has his yacht, and it needs to come in for service. It's a 40-foot, and Anko's asking me about Dave, and I said, this dude is awesome. There's emails going back and forth with Dave and Brett, and they're loving up the brand. At that time, some other brands had kind of ruled the world. Midnight Express, which still does, awesome offshore racing. No, not offshore racing boats. They're like fast center consoles. They get you out quick. Sorry, AJ. But they get you out quick, really cool boats. But they had kind of ruled the world at that time. And cigarette and stuff like that,
For sure.
So Dave Grutman sent his boat in for service, his Van Dutch yacht. I'm sorry, his day yacht. It's not really a boat. I wouldn't call it a boat.
Right.
He sends it in, and they say, well, should we take care of the guy? 100% you take care of this guy. They send back a 55-foot Van Dutch. 55-foot Van Dutch, and they're doing the Guardians of the Galaxy. So on the back, they put Groot. Groot.
Oh, yeah.
Groot, right? And that's for Vin Diesel. Yeah. And you can find those photos. They do the release party. They pull up Vin Diesel's there, Dave Grutman, they're doing their thing, and they start to connect it. It's Grutman, Grootman, big man. The big man. And
He's the big man of Miami, man. He's big man.
Right. Which he is. The guy's awesome. So they get pretty heavily ingrained into that experience, and it kind of launches his trajectory into a completely different direction, and they become Groot Hospitality, and like I'm not claiming any connection to his success in that. So you definitely have to throw that disclaimer in there, but just an awesome story of success and people and circles. So that had trajected me over toward the super agency and like ultimately what it became and where it is today. So those are fun, kind of crazy stories. There are a lot more And maybe we can
Yeah, you got
share
stories
those
for
another
days.
time.
We have to sit here for probably a couple of days, like running camera for days to get all these stories
share
out
those
of him.
the coffee's working.
Yeah.
Coffee's working.
But you talk so much about brand, and you talk so much about how even the smallest of details can speak volumes, right?
Yeah.
So when I talk brand, to me, on a surface level, I always say it's your reputation. What are you known for, right? So to kind of like capstone this conversation, I have a question that I'm really interested as to what your thoughts are, and it's basically real estate professionals, or really anyone in any industry. It could be, if you're an agent, you could be a mortgage broker, you could be a lawyer, it doesn't matter. When you're creating content and you're showing up online for you and your business, a lot of what I see is people looking to the left and right and just copying. Oh, they're doing this, I'll just copy. So do you have any advice you could give to someone to help them really stand out and be different online?
Swipe and adapt. Swipe and adapt. Don't copy. There is flattery and imitation, but to a certain degree, a certain capacity.
100%.
You got to show up every day. So show up, but show up authentic. Be consistent in your approach. Lean into the platforms that are most fun for you first and foremost, and then the ones that are most critical for your business. The ones that you can really enjoy. What I've been saying lately is a goal can fail, but a system can scale.
A goal can fail, a system can scale.
Yes.
Explain.
So a goal is something that you're emotionally tied to.
Okay.
Right? So
True.
like I have a goal. I want to start posting every day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to post every day. I'm going to make awesome content. It's going to be so cool. And then you don't.
Yeah.
Right? And then you get a little frantic because
Right.
you got to meet your goal. You want to meet your goal. So what do? You start to grasp at straws. You start to imitate or look left and right, right? But you fail, and what happens? You ever had a goal and you didn't get it? You didn't do it?
And you're upset.
You get upset.
Devastated sometimes.
Horrible, right?
Yeah.
In some cases, people quit.
Yeah.
Right? And so don't tie the business stuff to a goal, tie it to a strategy. Because if you have a strategy, if a strategy doesn't work, what do you do?
If a strategy doesn't work.
Strategy doesn't work. What do you do?
Change. Pivot.
Change it. Pivot.
Yeah.
Are you emotionally tied to your strategy?
No.
Shouldn't be.
Yeah, you
right?
shouldn't be.
You can be like to a certain capacity because
sure.
it's you. It represents you. But a strategy is almost like a recipe or like a theorem or something like that.
It has to be logical.
That's it. If a recipe doesn't taste good, am I like, oh, this was, you might to a certain capacity feel that way, but you go back, you change the recipe.
Change some variables.
Yeah, so a goal can fail, but a system can scale. So lean into your systems.
That's badass.
Yeah,
I love
thank
that.
you, buddy. I was not prepared for that.
No, that's badass. I mean, so tie everything together, I think what you said is like, it's important and it's okay to draw inspiration. Look at your industry leaders, look who's doing, but be a creator, not a consumer. Don't spend your entire existence following everyone in your industry and just seeing what works and copying. Oh, they're doing it, it works for them. It works for them. It might not work for you. So it's important to be authentic and to really stand out and be different when you're posting content online. And that is how you'll get on the path to truly building your brand, in my opinion.
That's it. Well, thank you for having me, buddy. I really appreciate this. I think one of the last things I could leave people with is if you're a professional, find other professionals to work with. Find people that are in a space that you want to be in and learn from them, grow from them. Never use people. Put your money where your mouth is, right? Invest. I heard something a long time ago that if you're a person who's not getting a lot of money right now or things aren't really flowing in, when time comes, consider putting it out there more. Because when you put things out there, it comes back. So if you're a person that doesn't enjoy paying people, it might not be a person that's getting paid as much. So start to lean more into paying professionals to help you and assist you. And I think you can scale your systems, astronomically. People like you, so have people get on the phone with you. It's worth a phone call. It's worth investigating. I know you can hook people up. So thank you so much.